from Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
For the third time since the start of the pandemic, Metro Manila is set to return under the strictest community lockdown. This after President Rodrigo Duterte approved the recommendation of the government's pandemic task force to place the National Capital Region under the enhanced community quarantine for 2 weeks, starting August 6th until August 20th. The decision comes after Metro Manila mayors appealed to the national government for stricter quarantine restrictions to contain the spread of the highly infectious Delta variant.
Matapos po ang matinding debate, kinakailangan magkaroon ng desisyon. Masakit na desisyon po natin to dahil alam nating mahirap ang ECQ, pero kinakailangan gawin po ito para maiwasan yung kakulangan ng ating mga ICU beds at iba pang hospital requirements kung lolobo po talaga ang kaso dahil nga po sa Delta variant. Sa huli, ang inisip ng lahat ay ang kailangan gawin na ang hirap na desisyon na ito para mas maraming buhay ang maligtas.
Roque explains, based on experts' projections, COVID-19 cases will dramatically spike in the next few weeks if interventions will not be put in place now. Malacanang, however, appeals to the public not to panic.
Kung kayo po may mga negosyo na hindi po pwede magbukas under ECQ, gumawa na po kayo ng mga arrangements ninyo. Wala pong dahilan para mag-panic buying dahil maski ECQ po, buhay naman po o bukas naman po ang ating mga groceries. No? At importante lang po ngayon, itong linggong ito, lahat po tayo ay makapagplano.
Malacanang assures that the government will still continue its vaccine rollout even under the enhanced community quarantine with strict enforcement of minimum health standards. But while the ECQ will not begin until next week, Malacanang says government will begin implementing additional restrictions for the National Capital Region, which is already under GCQ with heightened restrictions. Starting Friday until August 5th, indoor and even alfresco dining will be prohibited, with only takeout and delivery allowed for restaurants. Personal care services such as beauty salons, parlors, barbershops, and nail spas will only be allowed to operate at 30% seating capacity. The operations of indoor sports courts and venues, including indoor tourist attractions and specialized markets of the Department of Tourism, will be prohibited, while outdoor tourist attractions will be allowed at 30% of their venue capacity. Only authorized persons outside residences will be allowed to travel in and out of the NCR Plus areas or Metro Manila, including the areas of Cavite, Bulacan, Laguna, and Rizal. Only virtual religious gatherings will be allowed. Gatherings for necrological services, wakes and interment, and funerals for those who died of causes other than COVID-19 will also be allowed, but only for immediate family members.
Ang ilang probisyon ng omnibus guidelines na hindi epektado ng mga nasabing restrictions ay magpapatuloy kasama na operasyon ng pampublikong transportasyon. Patuloy nating ipopromote ang paggamit ng active transportation.
Meanwhile, Iloilo City, Iloilo Province, Cagayan de Oro City, and Hingoog City in Misamis Oriental will remain under enhanced community quarantine until August 7th. Cebu City and Cebu Province will be placed under modified ECQ from August 1st until August 15th, but subject to appeals from the local government units. Areas such as Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal, Laguna, Bacolod City, and Davao City will be under GCQ with heightened restrictions. Baguio City, Batangas, Quezon, Puerto Princesa, Davao Oriental, Davao del Sur, Zamboanga, and other provinces will be under GCQ, while the rest of the country will be under MGCQ. Because of the threat of the Delta variant, the Philippine government has also extended travel restrictions on 10 countries until August 15th. These are India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. The IATF meanwhile updated its list of green countries or areas, territories, or jurisdictions considered to be of low risk from COVID-19. According to the task force, fully inoculated passengers coming from these areas will only undergo 7 days of facility-based quarantine instead of the usual 10 days.
After a series of increase in COVID-19 cases in different parts of the country, the Philippines, which just a few weeks ago was considered low risk, is now at moderate risk for the disease. Data presented by the Health Department show all island groups except Mindanao are showing an upward trend in infections. On Wednesday, the National Capital Region contributed the highest number in the daily tally, followed by Regions 4A, Region 6, 1, 3, and 7.
In NCR, 11 areas are currently with a positive 2-week growth rate. Cati and Las Piñas and Pasay are the cities currently with a high-risk average daily attack rate. The whole region is now again at a positive 2-week growth rate at 19%. This should be a cause for concern as NCR has been at a negative 2-week growth rate for weeks before this current week.
On Thursday, the Philippine Genome Center reported additional 97 cases of the Delta variant. Of this number, 88 are local cases, 6 are returning overseas Filipinos, while 3 are still being verified, whether local or ROF. 2 of the ROFs are seafarers of the MT Clyde and barge Claudia anchored in Albay, while 4 are crew members of the MV Vega, which arrived from Indonesia. Aside from the Delta variant, 83 additional Alpha variants were also confirmed, along with 127 Beta variants. All of these are considered variants of concern by the World Health Organization. The Delta variant is said to be driving the surge in cases in different parts of the world. Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere also cautions the use of the term surge.
We just like to clarify. Yung surge kasi is not really a recognized term in epidemiology. So as much as possible, we do not want to use that. So para sa mga public, ang pagkakaintindi naman talaga ng surge ay yung biglang pagtaas o yung pagtaas ng kaso na madami talaga.
But don't tell that to the independent local research Octa Group. It insists the National Capital Region is experiencing a surge, which calls for swift action and stricter measures.
Noong February, nakita namin na tumataas na yung kaso. Nagbigay na kami ng hindi naman kami nag-alarm nun or naging alarmist. We were being cautious and nagkaroon tayo ng response. I encourage na i-re-examine natin the way we identify mga indicators natin.
For Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, government is proactive.
Meron na po tayong local transmission ng Delta variant at kinakailangan natin pong palakasin at ang pagpapatupad ng atin pong mga measures. Meron tayong travel restrictions na itinaas para sa 10 mga bansa hanggang sa katapusan ng buwan.
What the government is aiming for is to shorten the period between case detection and isolation. In the NCR, it still takes between 7 to 8 days. Contact tracing ratio also remains low, with 5 close contacts for every confirmed case of COVID-19.
ViaTimes, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino Asian communities in Chicago. ViaTimes for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. ViaTime has very interesting columnists. You name it, ViaTimes has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call ViaTimes at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's portion of this show today. You are going to be so much interested with this guest of mine from California. And he will be telling us about this number one thing that we've been complaining about these days, about the gas prices. And his name is David Nassaney. Did I pronounce it right? Nassaney.
Yes.
And he's from California. He is an expert in gasoline because he has been owner of a gas station for many, many years. And he wrote a book about, well, Dave, you can tell us about the book that you wrote and welcome to our show. Also, we're going to be discussing other topics about this, the causes of this high gas prices. And well, welcome to our show. So
Hey.
my first question is, how long have you been in the gasoline business?
I come from a long line of gas station owners. My father got out of the war in 1945, and he immediately opened his first gas station in the Bronx in New York. And in 1960, he got tired of the cold, so he moved his family to California. I was only 6 years old. And I remember uncles, brothers, cousins, in-laws, outlaws, everybody came to visit us, and they didn't want to leave because of the beautiful weather. So my father would set him up in business, in the gas station business. And pretty soon we had about a dozen people in the little town we lived in, Burbank. And eventually I became a gas station owner as well. And now you look behind me, I've been at this gas station for 45 years. And I'm the only one left in the family. Everyone else, they either died or they went bankrupt or they got a divorce.
It's a family business, and but do you really like it? Do you enjoy it?
Well, I've been doing it for so long, 30 years into the business, I got burned out and I wanted to sell it. So I went and put it online, and I found some different offers. And one Korean couple, they really wanted it and I really liked them, but they only had half the money. I said, I'm sorry, I can't, I need the whole money. He says, well, can you finance it? I said, no, I need the whole money. He says, well, can we be partners? And I says, no, my father told me never have a partner. And so they actually started crying, because they really, really wanted it and felt it was supposed to happen. And then something happened. My graveyard, it's a 24-hour station. So my graveyard worker is Hispanic, and every Christmas, all the Hispanic workers from Central California in the farms, they just go to Mexico for the whole month to visit with the family, because many times they don't see their family all year. And my guy has never done that before. And all of a sudden he wants to go. He says, boss, I got to go see my wife. I haven't seen her in a year. And I says, but who's going to work graveyard? December is my busiest month. He says, sorry, boss. So I got this idea. I offered the Korean couple an opportunity to work the graveyard shift for the month of December, my busiest month. I would pay him $10 an hour, which was minimum wage back then. And they jumped at the opportunity. Well, after 3 days, I says, wow, I've never seen work ethic like this. Korean people have great work ethics. And I said, I wouldn't mind being their partners, but I didn't say anything. I just let the month go by. And then they hung around for January and February and March, and we talked about it. And I says, okay, let's do it. So they gave me half the money and they became partners. And that was 15 years ago. And because of their help, my burnout went away. And then 2008 came, and the money that I invested, they gave me, I lost it in real estate, and I was invested in all the wrong things. And thank God I didn't sell that station, because now we needed it. And then a year later, the oil company sold us the real estate because we had the right of first refusal, and that just increased the profits. So thank God that sometimes he knows what we need before we need it.
Oh, Dave, in spite of the high gas prices that we're experiencing right now, do you still think that this is a good business for you?
Well, it depends on your location. Let's say 90% of gas stations are in mediocre locations because there's a station on every corner and it's very, very competitive. A customer will leave you for 1 penny and go to the next station. And especially if you have 4 stations on a corner. But 10% of the stations are in great, great locations like mine. I'm on the highway on a 27 miles of above me is nothing. So there's very little competition. And so I'm in a very fortunate position. So I'm grateful that I'm making very good money. Now, since the oil companies have sold their real estate, the whole industry is making better money than they had. But the ones in the outlying areas, the 10%, they're doing better. But, there's 4 reasons why gas prices go up. Everybody wants to know, why is the price rising? Are you a millionaire? Are you making all my money? And I said, no, I'm not a millionaire. I'm just a small guy. The oil companies are the millionaires. So basically, the first reason gas prices go up is because demand goes up. More people want it, and they're willing to pay for it. Second reason is supply comes down. There's less of it to sell and more people want it. And the third reason is inflation. When we do stupid things like print money on our printing press, the government that has nothing backing it, that causes inflation. Inflation affects every commodity, including gas and oil. And then the fourth reason is sometimes, like now, the government is putting regulations on oil companies. For example, they shut down the pipeline, which gives us cheap oil. And they're saying you can't drill on land that's leased by the government anymore. So that means we have to import more expensive foreign oil instead of pulling the cheap oil out of our ground. Go figure. Does that make any sense?
Of course, it says really, it makes a lot of sense. Oh, Dave, what made you write a book this entitled Getting Host, which refers to your business? And why did you write the book?
Well, for those of you who don't know what getting hosed means, it's an American expression. It just means we're really getting, I don't want to say the word screw, but we're really getting messed up. You know, people are ripping us off. And so in those days when I wrote the book, the oil companies owned most of the gas stations and they were just screwing us. You know, they were charging me more rent. I started paying $2,500 a month rent and it went up and up and up. And then I was paying like $11,000 a month rent. It was just harder and harder to make a living. So every time I would go somewhere, nobody knows someone who owns a gas station. You know, I mean, you probably don't know anybody who owns a gas station, right? So when they see me, they've got all these questions and they're all the same questions. And so I'm just answering the questions over. So I'm going to write a book and answer all the questions I've ever been asked. And this is the book, Getting Hosed, Secret Confessions of a Gas Station Owner. And so that is why I wrote the book. And for example, you know, people want to know the 5 costly mistakes that motorists make when they fill her up at the pump, right? Because gas prices are so high, taxes keep going up. California has the highest taxes in the nation. And, you know, what do we get for it? We still have potholes in our roads. I mean, they're going to the school pensions. I don't know where they're going, but they're not going to the roads where they're supposed to go. So the number one mistake that motorists make is they wonder, should I get premium or should I get regular gas? Well, unless you're driving a high performance or luxury vehicle, why would you waste your money on a premium gasoline that costs 30 or 40 cents a gallon more when your car doesn't need it? Read your owner's manual. Well, then the second biggest mistake, most costly one that motorists make, is they say, you know, are the cheaper gas stations really cheaper in the long run? Well, no, not necessarily, especially if you're going to those smaller independent gas stations that are run by, you know, mom and pop. And unfortunately, they've got to buy their gas wherever they can get it. And many times they can come across contaminated fuel. And if that contaminated fuel ever reaches your gas tank, we'll just say bye-bye to your engine because it's unrepairable. Stick with the majors. Stay away from the smaller independents. You can go to a larger independent like a Costco. The third biggest mistake motorists make, they ask, should I check my oil? And I say, of course you should, and you should do it every single week at least. And change your oil twice a year, sometimes 4 times a year, because dirty oil wreaks havoc on an engine. Now, the fourth mistake people make is, gosh, when's the last time you checked the tire pressure in your car? Well, people don't understand that underinflated and overinflated tires can cause engine performance problems. They can cause lower gas mileage. They can cause tire life to be cut right in half. But the biggest one is accidents. Hello. Check your tires before you get in your car. Make sure there's nothing protruding out of them. Make sure they're wearing properly. And finally, the fifth biggest mistake, yellow lights on your dashboard, right? They teach us as kids that when you see a yellow light, it means caution, right? Well, my gosh, if you see a yellow light on your dashboard, that's a danger Will Robinson moment. Hello. So have your mechanic immediately check your engine. Don't put it off. Don't neglect it. You know, in our industry, when somebody doesn't add oil in their car until the light comes on, we call those idiot lights. So you don't want to be one.
Dave, but many drivers out there are not like you. knowledgeable people like you. But so those are good tips on how to maintain your car to be in tip-top condition. But just like I said, not many drivers are like you. Like you, I also drive a car, but I just know how to run it.
Right,
But
right. Yeah, that's very common, especially a lot of women, they don't know anything about cars when
this
they
is
have a problem. I'm a mechanic too. Uh, I had a garage in my gas station for many years. And then when self-service came, people were putting mini marts in their gas station instead of garages. So I considered, should I hang on to the garage or should I get a mini mart? Because my station in the summertime, I get a lot of overheating, and the radiator, the idiot light comes on hot. And
yes.
so I would make a lot of money repairing cars in the summertime, but then in the wintertime, it was, like crickets. So I says, well, let me convert it to a mini mart, because every now and then, if you do a brake job or something, people will come back and say, hey, the job isn't right. You got to do it over again. There's liability fixing a car, if something's wrong. But I noticed that nobody ever returns a Twinkie from my mini mart. So it's much easier and it's the same profit. So now I have a mini mart. But getting back to what you were saying, women feel helpless when there's a problem with the car. It's making a strange noise. They go to the mechanic. Oh, well, you need a new alternator. That's going to cost you $500. Well, they don't know if this guy's ripping them off or not. My father was a very good man. God rest his soul. He was a mechanic. He taught me everything he knew. And he was followed by people. When he would move his gas station, they would drive miles to find him because they trusted him. And he was very charming and he was very knowledgeable and they gave him fair prices. And he used to kid around, a doctor is a DM, MD rather. And he says, I'm a doctor of motors, I'm a DM. So people have to trust their mechanic the same way they trust their doctors. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So you need to take a little class. They've got community college classes. You can learn a little bit about your car. The internet now, there's no excuse. Dial on the internet and say, strange sound on my car, and you'll get this forum. Everybody's saying, well, here's what happened to me. Here, this guy tried to rip me off. Oh, this guy. Here's a good place to go to take your car, and so on.
Great, terrific. So with this very interesting book of yours, I don't think there's any book that was published that talks about the gas prices and the cars. But what I want to know is that what makes these gas prices to go up like crazy?
Well, in California, I don't know about Chicago, but in California, we have the highest gas price because we have the highest tax on gas. Federal excise tax is a certain amount. I think it's like 37. Yeah. And then the federal government was always higher than the state government, but California thinks it's special. So it's raised its excise tax higher than the federal tax. So we're paying about 50 cents a gallon for state excise tax. That money is supposed to go to fix our highways and our roadways. And then on top of that, they charge us a sales tax. Many states don't charge sales tax on anything. Some states don't charge sales tax on food and gas. We used to not charge sales tax on gas, but a few years ago, our governor, Jerry Brown, decided that we needed more money. So he put a temporary tax on gasoline and it never went away. It's been like 20 years. And that is added on top of that. So there's about $1 a gallon in California that is going to taxes. And then on top of that, we have this thing called vapor recovery, which is designed to keep the vapors inside the tank, because that's what they claim that all the smog in LA came from, is the unburned hydrocarbons that come out of the tank, the vapors. So I must admit, I was skeptical, but the smog in LA is much better since they did it. So I don't mind paying for vapor recovery if it's going to, help you to breathe better. But each state has their own problems. But basically, if there's a rumor that there's a war in the Middle East or something, the next day gas prices go up. It says, how could that be? Because all the gas in the tankers, all the gas in the tanks at the oil company, all the tanks in my gas station, that's still cheap gas. It didn't go up yet. It's got to take a few days to go through the pipeline, but yet the next day it goes up. And so why is that? Well, because they can. And because they can and they do and they anticipate it, because they figure, my margins are pretty low and everybody wants higher margins, right? Even those other gas stations I explained that there's too much competition. They wish they were making the margins I was making. My gas station is at the bottom of this hill in Los Angeles, 27 miles of nothing up there. And there's a sign at the top that says, get gas here, because for the next 27 miles, it's the last chance gas. People don't see that. So they come down. They don't come into my station looking for cheap gas. They're on fumes. Their gas tanks are on empty. Their bladders are on full. They got to go to the restroom and they're falling asleep. They need coffee. So I have a reputation for having the best espresso in town and the cleanest restrooms in town. In fact, one time this tractor trailer came down the hill. We get a lot of trucks that lose their brakes because drivers will ride their brakes down. And he figured, well, what should I do with this runaway truck? I know, I'll pull it to that gas station. Hello. So he turns the wheel really sharp and the chickens all fall over. The whole tractor trailer falls over. There are dead chickens everywhere. There are live chickens running around. There are eggs frying on the hot summer asphalt. So I didn't know what to do. I had to round up all of the live chickens. I put them in the ladies' room. But don't worry, I put the hens in the men's room. And they came, the newspaper came, our local paper, and they looked in the ladies' room. They saw about 100 chickens in there on the toilet, on the sink, everywhere. And so they did a headline, Ku Klux Klan. And I mean, this book is a great book. It's got money-saving tips in it, ways that you can keep your car running great, and it'll save you a lot of money. Great stories like that one. So the book is a very entertaining book, and it'll help you save money, and it'll help keep your car running great.
How many pages is your book?
It's an easy read. It's 96 pages. In fact, before I came on the show, I took a couple hours and read through it really quickly just to refresh my memory. I'd forgotten some of the great stories in there. One time somebody complained that there was a body on the floor in the restroom. In restroom, we got 1,000 people a day using our restroom because, there's no restrooms for 27 miles. And so that's unusual. So we went in there and the guy was dead. And the worst thing is that people were just walking over his body because they needed to use the restroom. And so we had the coroner come and they found out that he was dying of AIDS and he just happened to take his last breath in my restroom. One time, an airplane, people are always abandoning cars on my property and then I got to tow them away. But one time I came to work and there was a Cessna airplane abandoned on my property. And I said, wow, look at that. Finally, something that I want to keep, because who wants a junky car? And so later on in the day, I didn't even think about it. We just went to about our business. They called and says, did somebody land an airplane on your gas station? And I was kidding around with them. I said, well, let me look. And I looked around and I says, well, what color is it? And she says, red. And I says, yeah, it's here. He was flying over the gas station last night. He lost oil pressure. He landed at the gas station. And then he came, he fixed the trouble. He tried to take off and the FAA would not let him. So he decided to just take off by himself. And then the highway patrol started chasing him. They called the highway patrol and they were on the phone for an hour arguing. And finally they let him take off down my road if he had an escort by the highway patrol. I mean, and I got a million stories like that. It's just an amazing experience.
Right, million stories. You're an eyewitness as a gas station owner. You're an eyewitness to many life's dramas, from natural causes to accidents and everything that could happen in front of your eyes.
And we help a lot of people too. A lot of people come in broke, out of gas, no money, or they were deserted. The husband and wife had a fight. They just kicked her out of the car and just drove off. And so, we've got to help them out. We give them food, we give them water. Sometimes we give them money. Sometimes we'll call them a cab. We feel like God put us there to just help people out because you're stranded in the middle of nowhere there. Even during the gas shortages, people needed gas and we only had so much to sell each day, allocation, we were rationing. And he says, please give me gas. I'll give you $50. Just give me some gas. And I said, I can't, not till the morning, I just, stories broke our hearts. So you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be entertained, you'll be educated. It's a great, great book.
Wow, David. How about crimes? Like
We are very fortunate because we have never been robbed in the 45 years we've been there. That's so hard to believe. The closest thing we came to robbery was some local kid who lives around the block, came in with a BB gun. He thought he'd be funny, and he said, give me your money, and so we train our cashiers, don't take any chances, give them the money. We don't keep a lot of money in the register, but the cops found him, they returned the money, and they sent him off to jail. He was a minor. So we don't get gang members or anything. We're on the highway at a lake resort, and I think it's just too far for the gang members to drive. And people who come into my station come from all over the world, from Germany, from Italy, from Australia, because they come to LA or they come to San Francisco and they rent a car. And our freeway, Interstate 5, connects 3 states and 2 foreign countries. That's nonstop, divided highway from Canada to Mexico. So you can imagine.
Wow, you really have a very good location. Okay.
Thank God.
Yes, Dave, we're running out of time. Where can our viewers purchase your book?
Just go to gasolineexpert.com, and that will take you to a spot there where you can click on the book, and that will take you to Amazon. Or you can go to Amazon directly. It's called Getting Hosed, Secret Confessions of a Gas Station Owner by Dave Nassaney.
Dave Nassaney,
the gasoline expert.
author of Getting Hosed.
Getting Hosed. I'll show you one more time. There you go.
I'm really amazed. You're such a very busy businessman, and yet you found time to write that book.
Well, I'm writing my 4th book now. I'm a caregiver also. I've written my first book about my wife and I and the experience of her stroke that she had 25 years ago. That's called One Arm, One Leg, 100 Words, because she's paralyzed on one side and she can't speak.
No.
And then the second book is this one, Getting Hosed. The third book is about caregivers, how to survive without letting your loved one kill you, because 30% of caregivers die before their loved ones do. And I'm writing my 4th book about wisdom. I have a hammock. I get wise when I swing on my hammock. It's called Secrets from the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times. It'll be out this year.
Oh, all right, Dave. I thank you for gracing our show today, and I wish you
just remember, don't be a chump at the pump. You save a lot of money if you take my advice and buy the book, and you'll have a great running car and you'll be richer.
How much is your book?
The book, I believe, is $9.95.
$9.95. Oh my goodness.
US dollars.
US. It's not pesos.
not Filipino dollars either.
Filipino pesos.
It was great having me on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Maraming salamat is thank you so much in our language, Filipino language.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, and well.
And I'll say thank you in my ancestors' language, Arabic. Shukran.
Shukran.
Shukran. SHUKRON. Shukran.
Oh, shukran. All right.
How do you say it in Filipino? Thank you.
Thank you. Maraming salamat. Or just salamat.
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 Yes.
like salami.
yes. Okay. David, I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
And how I wish I could read your book one of these days. And
well, I sent you an ebook. Would you like a physical one?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Bye.
Bye.
would like to welcome all of you to Baladna Jewelry. We have a very big selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po.
Good afternoon. This is Brigitte Carino Cueter bringing you this week's local news from our community. Illinois Environmental Protection Agency Director John J. Kim today announced the issuance of a health advisory for PFAS acid in accordance with Illinois groundwater regulations. Health advisories are issued when there is detection of a chemical substance harmful to human health for which no numeric groundwater standard exists, and resampling confirms the presence in a community water supply well. On January 28, 2021, Illinois EPA issued health advisories for 4 chemicals included in the family of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, often referred to as forever chemicals, because of their persistence over time in surface water and groundwater. On April 15, 2021, a health advisory was issued for a 5th chemical in the PFAS family, and one of the initial health advisories was also updated. As with previous health advisories, PFNA is a compound in the PFAS family of chemicals. Each health advisory contains a general description of the chemical, information on carcinogenicity, and potential adverse health effects, and a guidance level. The below chart provides the health advisory guidance levels for each of the chemicals identified to date, beginning with new advisory. The Illinois Department of Public Health announced it is fully adopting updated CDC masking recommendations to protect against COVID-19 and the Delta variant. CDC recommends that everyone, including fully vaccinated individuals, wear a mask in public indoor setting in areas with substantial and high transmission. CDC is also recommending universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K-12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. While data continues to show the effectiveness of the 3 COVID-19 vaccines currently authorized in the U.S., including against the Delta variant, we are still seeing the virus rapidly spread among the unvaccinated, said IDPH Director Dr. Ngozi Ezike. Cases and hospitalizations due to COVID-19 both continue to increase, overwhelmingly among the unvaccinated. But the risk is greater for everyone if we do not stop the ongoing spread of the virus and the Delta variant. We know masking can help prevent transmission of COVID-19 and its variants. Until more people are vaccinated, we join CDC in recommending everyone, regardless of vaccination status, wear a mask indoors in areas of substantial and high transmissions, and in K-12 schools. July 27th through July 28th, 2021 is World Hepatitis Awareness Day. In the United States, Asian Americans make up about 6% of the population, yet comprise over half of the estimated 2.4 million people chronically infected by hepatitis B. Because hepatitis B often doesn't cause symptoms, most don't know they are infected. Early diagnosis is the best way to prevent serious liver problems such as liver cancer. You can find more information about hepatitis B from the CDC's website. In honor of World Hepatitis B Day, the Midwest Asian Health Association is pleased to announce 2 upcoming events to help immunize and screen for Hep B among Chicagoland residents. On Wednesday, July 28th and July 31st, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 230 West Cermak Road, 2nd floor, Chicago, Illinois. Due to failed Democrat leadership and their calls to defund the police, crime is on the rise in our nation's cities, and more specifically, anti-Asian hate crimes. In our nation's largest cities, anti-Asian hate crimes rose by nearly 150% last year, according to police data analyzed at California State University, San Bernardino. While police forces are shrinking and officers are demonized, Asian Pacific Americans are left to largely fend for themselves against their rising hate crimes. For this reason, it's no surprise that gun purchases amongst Asian Pacific Americans are through the roof. In the first 6 months of 2020, gun sales to Asian Pacific Americans were up 42% compared to the previous year, according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation. From the conversations Time magazine had with gun shop owners, those sales have only continued to rise. Time magazine profiled one APA woman who had previously been terrified of guns and firmly opposed them, but is now a gun owner due to the fear of being targeted with violence simply for her race. To mark the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Attorney General Kwame Raoul today led a coalition of 18 state attorneys general urging Congress to pass legislation that will allow people with disabilities to have equal access to public transportation. The All Stations Accessibility Program Act of 2021 will support state and local government efforts to provide accessible public transportation to people with disabilities. The ASAP Act was introduced in the Senate by Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Chair Sherrod Brown of Ohio, and Special Committee on Aging Chair Bob Casey of Pennsylvania. Companion legislation was introduced in the House of Representatives by Illinois Reps Jesus Chuy Garcia and Maria Newman. The legislation would establish a federal grant program to support local transit and commuter rail authorities to upgrade existing stations to meet or exceed the ADA's accessibility standards. In a letter to congressional leadership, Raoul and the coalition argue that the legislation is essential to addressing barriers to transportation, which also serve as barriers preventing people with disabilities from fully participating in society. Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle joined Commissioner Brandon Johnson, Illinois Senate President Don Harmon, Representative Camille Lilly, Oak Park President Vicky Scammon, and Housing Forward Executive Director Linda Schuler to announce a $100,000 grant through Cook County's Justice Advisory Council to support nonprofit Housing Forward's work on Cook County's west side. The grant is a part of a $1.5 million investment to community-based organizations through the JAC aimed at creating stable and thriving communities throughout Cook County. We must invest in people and our communities if we hope to see positive changes in our neighborhoods. This approach has the power to transform Cook County communities affected by an array of destabilizing factors, including housing instability, unemployment, mental health, and crime, said President Preckwinkle. Housing is a critical piece of the puzzle in this regard. We believe housing is a human right, and today we are taking another step in ensuring that everyone has a safe, stable place to lay their head at night. That's all for today. Thank you for watching our news this week. This is Brigitte. See you next time.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Dr. C with the Chicago Eye Institute, located here at 5086 North Elson Avenue. In our last two segments, we've discussed cataracts and cataract surgery. In this segment, I want to discuss a disease that affects many patients, but they're unaware of it, and that's glaucoma. Now, inevitably, somebody may come in asking whether or not they do have glaucoma. But commonly, the second question they may ask is, what is glaucoma? It's a good question. Now, what glaucoma is simply is damage to the nerve of the eye. Usually, that damage occurs because of high pressure inside the eye. Just like how high blood pressure can affect our heart, high eye pressure can cause damage to the nerve. Now, glaucoma can also be due to other things and not just high pressure. But the most common form of glaucoma does deal with high pressure inside the eye. Other risks of developing glaucoma are race, age, and family history. Now, if we suspect glaucoma in you, the exam would entail simply dilating the eyes to physically observe and document the nerve findings. In addition, we may order some other tests, such as a visual field test, simply because what glaucoma does is it affects one's peripheral vision. If patients have severe glaucoma, they develop blind spots in their side or peripheral vision. So a visual field test can be done to establish a baseline and to further evaluate glaucoma or its progression over the years to come. In addition, we want to measure how thick or thin the nerve is, because just like hair, a thinning nerve can occur with age and in patients with glaucoma. Now, unfortunately, the damage that is done with glaucoma is permanent. Fortunately, however, that damage does take years before it gets to a point where it's severe. In order to help take care of glaucoma, we first may put you on some drops. The purpose of these drops is to help to lower the pressure inside the eye. Luckily enough, nowadays there are a family of medications that simply is just once at bedtime. If that one drop does not help with lowering the pressure, we may add a second or even third drop. If on maximum medical therapy, the eye pressure still remains high, then we may resort to either laser or even surgery to help to lower the pressure down. Nowadays, sometimes glaucoma surgery can also be combined with cataract surgery to achieve both pressure control and better vision by removing your cataract. So if there's a suspicion of glaucoma, feel free to come and see us here at 5086 North Alston Avenue at the Chicago Eye Institute. Once again, I'm Dr. C, and I look forward to meeting with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host, and today I have a special guest with me. I've been working with him for almost a year now, and he's really, really a special guy. A lot of patients love him. He is such an easy doctor to love because he just cares so much. So I wanted to share him with you and just ask him a few questions about COVID vaccine. I'll be introducing Dr. Gopal Balala. Hi, Dr. Balala. How are you doing?
Very good.
Thank you for giving me this time of the day and opportunity to have this conversation. And so I know that your clinic is here in Gurnee or in Zion, right? Zion. Is there any other clinic that you hold, Doc?
No, this is the only one.
This is the only one.
I'm in the same place for 35 years.
Oh, God bless your heart. I wasn't born yet that time. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. All right, Doc. So, you know, our hot topic, the vaccine. I know they said there's 3 vaccines now that's available. What do you normally tell patients about vaccine if they ask you, should I get it? What do you say, Doc?
Well, you know, most of the people like more than 65 years old or who also have a lot of chronic conditions like COPD, hypertension, diabetes, all need to get the vaccine as early as possible. It does not matter what kind of vaccine, either it's a Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson. We have a shortage, so, you know, cannot be waiting for certain kind of vaccine. Whatever you can get, all 3 is going to help you.
That's right. Well, what if I always get calls and they say, you know, I have lung issues, lung problem, and I heard somebody got this and they got the COVID. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, COVID, the vaccine it's not a problem. It's not a risk. You know, if people get a flu shot every year.
That's right.
They get a little muscle ache, body ache, a little feverish, but there's nothing more than that.
So they should be getting it because those are just minor adverse effect, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, not really a complication. Do you think, Doc, we can get rid of the pandemic this year? You think? I'm hopeful.
Oh yeah, it's almost done.
Yes.
We just need to get more and people vaccinated, so they are not infectious to anybody.
Correct.
And then fear will go. I mean, we have seen the ages, certain things comes out, and then it goes away. As long as people get educated and be on the safe side.
That's right. Have you lost, what percentage of the population you have that lost their lives because of COVID?
I had about 10 patients.
Oh, okay.
So they were older, more than 70s. They had COPD, hypertension,
right,
heart disease.
Yes.
And they are the one, they could not make it.
That's right.
They were on the vent for a week, 2 weeks, but finally, the body gives up.
Yeah, that's right. So, so is your office fully open? I mean, did you ever close at a certain time?
We never close, even one single day.
Oh, wow.
Because in this medicine,
yes,
COVID is not the only thing.
Correct.
People have diabetes, they have heart disease, hypertension, all other medical problems needs to be addressed. You cannot just worry about COVID. Certainly we use all the precautions we can use. Use the mask, use the shield, and our office, partially blocked up. So, we get only one patient at a time in the waiting room. Nobody's waiting.
Correct.
And my girls cleans the office. After each patient leaves, they clean the rooms, everything, all sterilized. So nobody would get infected.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So, Doc, what do you say? If people had the vaccine, do they still need to wear the mask? What can you say about that?
Well, that we have to wait and see. Right now, I think they should wear a mask. Once you get the vaccine, we don't know how long they're going to take to make antibodies.
That's right.
So until then, until everything proves, you got to wear the mask.
You got to wear the mask, people. So that's it, folks. This is Dr. Gopal Balala has given us tons of medical information regarding the vaccine. And I think we are nearing to the end of it. Hopefully, we can end it soon so we can go back to our normal life. And you can start playing golf, Doc,
That's right? Yeah. I never missed one day of golf when pandemic was there. Because you are out in the open area.
There you go.
And nobody close by.
That's right.
You don't need to wear a mask.
That's right.
You're at least 10 feet away from other person, so
you're good.
You can enjoy it.
Wonderful. Well, I really thank you for this opportunity and the time that you have given me, Doc. So maybe next time we'll talk to you again, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, bye.